video. But it's great. So you said you're based in Sydney. You are so highly regarded, Richard. 5 times Session Stylist of the Year in the Australian Hair Awards. What a career you have had.
Certainly been a journey, mate. Yeah, I've had plenty of pinch me moments along the way, and I feel like, look, I started out as a kid. I wanted to be a biochemist. I was at high school. I was kind of a nerd, but I was kind of like a punk nerd, and I was this weird little skinny outcast, and I just was interested in science and art and sports, but I was too little to play sport, and I wasn't very good at art. and I was getting my hair done one day during the school holidays, and nobody, like, I came from a small town in New Zealand, nobody coloured their hair back in the 80s where I came from. And I was getting my hair cut and coloured. I got this amazing, like, wedge cut flat top with this long fringe with a green end, orange underneath and pink and purple on top. And as the girl was cutting my hair, she was explaining to me about how, as she was colouring it, she said, I know that your hair will behave in a certain way as I apply chemicals to it. It will start to lighten through the spectrum, and the way that the pigment comes out of the hair, it behaves in a really predictable way. So I can then use that by mixing other chemicals to either subdue the colour or enhance the colour that's coming out in your hair. And I can get a really predictable result every time. And then she said, she kind of explained this to me about how everybody's head is a different shape, they're all asymmetric, and they're all kind of wobbly things, but you can use an architectural approach to cutting to determine exactly the geometric shape that you want, whatever geometric shape you want. And I was like, I'm in. I was like 14 years old. I was this tiny little skinny kid, maybe 13. And it was, honestly, I got goosebumps at the time. It was like someone hit me between the eyes, and I knew without a shadow of a doubt in every fibre of my being that I was going to do hair. Look, honestly, in my whole life, there's only been 2 things that I've ever known absolutely, and that was one. My sense of how to strive for excellence.
And
in every aspect.
Why is all that important, though, for you, Richard? Because, what I love is how you link that in with your martial arts and the competitive side of you. And I think that's great in the industry, and people want to win awards, they want to win trophies. Why is that so important to many of us in your thought process?
Yeah, that's a good question, mate. I think there's a real drive to enter and win awards, and to, in some sense, it's like, there's a part of it that's kind of ego that says, I want to get some recognition, I want to be seen by my peers, I want to be validated. There's a part of it that's just like this innate sense of, like, I want to prove myself to myself. I see something that's there and I feel like it's attainable. I want to play in that same realm. I've often tried to ask this question of myself, right? Like, what is it that's making me, that's driving me to do the things that I'm trying to do? I think, one, I'm never ever satisfied, right? Like, I never look, I won't say never, but I rarely look at something that I've done and go, fuck, that's great. I often look at it and go, oh, I could have done that better, that could be better. I'm my own harshest critic, and I'm constantly striving for excellence. I want to do better. I set myself outrageous, audacious goals, and then there's a part of me that's just like, I think there's a small part of me that's very much punk, that is like, I don't accept the status quo. I don't accept the rules that have been set down by society. I don't accept the rules of the social structures and frameworks that everybody else adheres to. I think I just, I will do whatever I want.
Doing the same.
Look, I think it's an interesting point, because one of the things about, like, pushing for your own greatness, part of it is like, you want that to be validated and acknowledged by others, to validate the ideas that you have for yourself and about yourself. So, for example, when you do competition work, you put yourself out to the world, right? You have an idea, you have a concept, you execute that concept to the best of your ability, and then you present it to your peers to judge. And their judgment, based on their judgment, you validate yourself, right? Like, do they think it's good enough to win this award based on these criteria? Is it better than the other people that entered and what they did and what they presented? I think with social media, it's almost like, a daily putting yourself out into that spotlight kind of thing, and I think the validation and the recognition that people get from, the likes, the taps, the comments, the shares is similar psychologically to that kind of thing, but it's to your point of it sort of being vanilla, or I love that Marmite, it's like there's almost a formula in that realm for getting kind of traction or acknowledgement or knowledge, and it's like it starts to all look the same, and I sometimes look at like a lot of hairdressing feeds, a lot of hairdressers' feeds and their social feeds, and it's a bit like walking down the supermarket aisle and looking at the hair color, the take-home hair color, like they all look the same. There's 14 brands and 24 colors per brand, and it's like, where do you even begin to choose? It all looks so just homogenized. And I think to your point, I think there's a really fine balance to being acknowledged and recognized and trying to carve your own path, because if you try and carve your own path off too far sideways, well, then people are going to be like, mate, where are you going? That's too abstract, that's too weird, I think someone, you mentioned Robert Lebet. I worked with him one time a few years back, and we had great chats. I thought he was an awesome mind, and what I love about him at his heart is his passion for a pursuit in excellence and a pursuit in the new. Like, I never want to settle for.
But you're a sort of, yeah, come on, let's have a go. It's like, I haven't done it, but I'll have a go at this. That seems to be running through you all the way along in your journey.
Well, I think I have this. I think my wife and I have this saying that we kind of adhere to in our life, which is follow the charm, right? And the things that charm you, the things that give you a buzz and give you energy, and the tasks and activities and opportunities that present themselves that thrill you are the things that you should pursue, because they energize you, and you can work day and night, and you can do these things and never feel like you're working a day in your life because you're following the charm. Whereas if you kind of get into your head too much and you think, well, logically, I'm not sure if I know how to do that, and I might need to go and do these lessons, and how will I make, I wonder how much they'll pay me, and who'll do the contract, and, you can get into all of that space, or you can just follow the charm and know that everything else is figure-outable. Transactions are just maths, right? Like, if you want to work out a contract and you want to work out the finances, that's simple, because that's just maths and agreements, right? Like, this okay? Nah. Well, how about this? Yeah, okay, cool, we'll do that. I mean, agreements are easy, transactions are easy, but following your heart requires you to get out of your own way so that you can do what energizes you. And then that's when you get those opportunities to just kind of, go where the wind blows you.
But they just think to themselves, a team, just maybe break that down to somebody that thinks, oh, tell me a bit more about being part of a team.
Yeah, look, and I think if I could kind of give a little bit of structure to how Fashion Week shows work for a start. So basically, Fashion Week, you have a show, and the show is about selling clothes, and you have a team of people that put on that show to sell the clothes to the consumers and to the media. Part of that team is hair. There's hair, makeup, and styling, accessories, nails, etc. So the hair director is hired by the designer or a part of the production crew to create a look that's going to help tell the story about that collection. Now, Guido is regarded as the super force in that world. Like, honestly, the guy's an absolute genius. I mean, his pursuit of excellence and his vision of beauty is second to none. honestly, he's an incredible hairdresser. So the hair director designs a look at a hair test for the show, and then he has to obviously execute that look on anywhere from 15 to 75 to 150 models, depending on the show. I mean, we have done shows with 150 models in them. And so obviously you need a whole team of hairdressers to do that look, and the look has to be executed as though the hair director did it themselves. So there's three different parts to the hair director's role. There's one, the creative, designing the look, working with the creative team, the designer, to design the look. Two, team leadership, so leading a team of hairdressers, many of whom you don't work with regularly, unless you're Guido, and then you do work with them regularly. And that team could be anywhere from 5 to 70 people. Right? Imagine running a team of 70 people for a 3-hour project for one single look that you just created, and then you have to teach them and they have to execute it as if you'd done it. I mean, that's a real leadership skill. And then while you're actually doing that leadership, you then also have to be a media spokesperson. You have to be able to speak to the media on behalf of the brand, your sponsors, yourself, obviously, and share with the beauty media and the consumer world what this trend means in the context of fashion and how that's going to impact them, what the key products are. So it's a really interesting dynamic. So being part of that team means that you are entrusted with being the hands for that vision and creating or executing that look. Bear in mind that if you've got 70 models, all of them have got different hair, different density, texture, porosity, elasticity, color, length, curl. Everything is different about every girl's hair. But if the hair look is meant to be consistent, then you have to not just follow a formula to execute the look, because you could follow a formula if everyone's hair was the same, but you have to adapt your approach so that you get the same end result, no matter what the canvas you're working on. So being a part of that team, the team is sort of structured quite differently. Generally, most hair directors like Eugene, Guido, most of the top guys have one or two or three full-time people that work with them as their assistants, and one of them's like the bag person, one of them's technical, and one of them's more kind of admin-y, but they all do hair. And then they have a core team, which might be anywhere from sort of Guido's team. During that time that I worked with him, there was about 8 of us that were in the core team, and we'd go and help with the hair tests and the hair trials, and we'd do all the wig prep, and we'd do all the late nights and the 24-hour shifts and the early starts and the late finishes. And then beyond that, there's a bigger team of kind of rig-ins and assistants that come in to help execute that look, and they can be people who are regular ring-ins, or they could be one-offs. So there's quite a few people who might get to do one show, they might get an opportunity through a sponsor or something, and it's amazing for them to just experience the energy backstage and the creative excellence. So even on the team, there's kind of layers of
Thank you so much for sharing
closeness.
What a brilliant insight into that.